What is going on, guys? Bearded Brix here with another weekly update. This week we're going to talk about some new buildings, some new things that are going to change in the city, and we're going to change some old things in the city. While building this church, it is finished now, by the way. I did realize that there's a lot more detail in it than some of the other buildings, and then on the new building I've built, it is a lot more detailed than some of the other ones. I've waited and waited and waited on some bricklink orders. They have finally came. We now have 16 by 16 plates. This is about half of them. We got more over there. I'm going to change the way some of the things are growing in the city. Things that we're going to be changing is a lot of the buildings I built that had detail inside were all modular. Well, we've talked about this a couple times now. We don't need them modular. So what I'm going to do is make the buildings themselves modular. They're going to be a lot more easy to travel and a lot more easy to be put on these base plates. In doing so, it's going to save me a bunch of pieces. The church really came out really nice. It was really cool. Kind of like an idea that I ran with, and I was really happy with the way it turned out, which made me put a lot more detail into some of the other buildings. You know, a lot of the buildings that I first did were just windows and bricks and maybe a couple like different glasses with inset or offset or anything else, where this has a lot of more detail into it and kind of like builds up, tiers up and everything else, so it looks a lot more like a building versus just a block. And in doing that, it kind of made me create on this new building I'm about to show you.
Drum roll. Joy to the world.
A lot more detailed of a building. This building came out extremely nice. I wanted to put a theater in the city. I had a bunch of pieces from Eclipse Graphics that I could use for this. As you can see though, with these blank windows, I do need to order more. I did kind of copy this idea off of a Lego set for the theater. I saw the palace sign and thought it'd be really cool, and then I saw the roof and wanted to copy it, but I also changed a lot. This is not built anywhere near the way that the one for Lego is built, except for the sign. The sign is 100% copied. I just swapped colors. I didn't want to sit there and kind of fool with, I have a little letter layout that I can use, but the letters were too big and it wasn't exactly looking right because I was trying to spell out theater. So I saw this and was like, I'm running with this. But as you can see, this building is a lot nicer than the other buildings in the city. So what that is going to end up meaning is that since I am doing things like this now, which like I said, this whole building is modular, it just pops onto a base plate, versus making the floors modular, it's going to bring me back to buildings like these. And what happens with buildings like these when I want to redo them, we just crush them up and I redo them. So the comic book store is going to get redone, the apartments are going to get redone, all of everything else in the city that you've seen except for a couple buildings are going to be redone. What I'm going to do is make them bigger, make them taller, wider, and in doing so I'm going to change the way the outside looks and make them a lot more detailed. If I can do stuff like this and then this church back here, I can do better than this. All of these buildings were just too easy to do. I mean, I literally just put inverted slopes on the outside and put like a little shutter thing up top to make it look like it had detail, and it just doesn't look like it has detail, it looks plain. So if I can make all the buildings look detailed like these two, I think it'll pop the city and make it look much nicer. Now the Empire State Building is not getting turned around. The Stark Tower is not getting messed with. The Daily Bugle that I've started is not going to change at all either. Those are all built kind of the way the church and this are built, and there's not much more detail that I want to add to them, just because the building itself I don't want to take away from the action scenes that are going on. Another one of the big things, since I will be taking apart stuff like the comic book store, the comic book store has all these comic books in them, which I now have to put around the city. So one of the things I wanted to do was, instead of having all the detail in the buildings that you're not going to be able to see, I want to detail the outside of the city. So all these rooftops are going to have stuff on them. There's going to be scenes in the streets. I'm going to put more detail on some of the action that is going on. One of the things I have changed that I will show you a little later in another video is the Stark Tower. One of the things I did up top, I'm really happy with it. It turned out great. and it is going to be another one of the action scenes like I'm talking about that kind of takes and shows the detail that's there, but it doesn't take away from the building itself, which is what I want to be able to do with when I add all this stuff into the streets. There's a bunch of stuff in here that I have built that I want to kind of keep and show in other places, so all of this will be going in other buildings, stuff like that you will be able to see. One of the other things I have thought about doing that I'm going to try to play with is lighting. I want to light the theater. I want to light the theater bad. I think it will look really, really cool. And also putting some light in the church where I have the stained glass going on. And if I do that and I figure out how to do it the way I want it to and turn out the way I want it to, I might put some scenes in some of these buildings that are up against the window. Kind of like where I won't have anything but the window there and a light shines in or from the outside, however I do it, and you'll be able to see what's going on the inside. I think that'll look a lot cooler with the way that I've done Aunt May's apartment, and it will help throw in some lighting like on Stark Tower, which will show you kind of what's in the inside. Now, Stark Tower and the Empire are both going to be two buildings that are going to be really easy to do. There's nothing really special going to be happening, although I do want to find out how to do some LED effects, because I would like for the Empire to be flickering like it is actually on fire versus just a solid light being on. One of the other things I want to do is, like I was talking about with the Thor apartment, if it was this size and the way I wanted to do it was kind of put it on a corner and it was going to go in a Disney Plus tower. With the tower coming up, all the rooms are going to be open and you are going to be able to look inside and see what's going on. Now that I'm doing the buildings like this, I won't really be able to do that. What I'm going to do is expand them in the middle, and there will be a building section that is up front in the city that is kind of like right there when you walk up, that's going to be open on the front side. And all the detail is going to be put inside of the buildings, and there will be a light. What I'm trying to do is get a light for each one, which I don't think will be hard to do at all. It's just something I got to play with using LEDs because we've never done it before. So while building these buildings, I want to get away with using the light bluish gray and dark bluish gray so much. I will continue to use them, but add them in with other color, kind of like I did with the theater. The theater has 4 or 5 colors on the outside of it, and I want to continue that with some of these other buildings. I want to set myself like a goal of maybe doing 3 colors at least per building. That way it shows a little more contrast, a little more depth, and it's not just plain looking. The Stark Tower and the Empire and the Daily Bugle will stay the way they are, just because when you go downtown and you look at a skyscraper, there's really not that much detail in the building themselves. It's just kind of one color that's plain and goes up. Now, Oscorp will have a couple different colors in it because I've got a plan to do some things with the sign. The one thing I'm working on now is trying to figure out how to light it up, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it. One of the other things I want to do in this city is, if I can figure out how to do these lights really well, is a lot of the people who have superpowers and stuff show, like kind of when Phoenix turns into a Phoenix and stuff like that, they have light, you know, it's like a big flaming ball, and then, or Jubilee, when she uses her ability, you know, it comes out like a purple effect. I really think it'd be kind of cool to add that in those minifigures. I know you could do it with stuff like lightsabers, so I can't find a reason why I shouldn't be able to, but it is going to be something I have to play with. And with all that being said, I do continue to appreciate all the support we're getting on this. I do want this to come together well. I know what all y'all are going to say about this building, about me just taking it apart again and again, but I really want this thing to just be amazing. So I'm ready to do this and ready to show, and I guess the best of my ability, and see what I can come up with. And I want to get this done, and I want this to be a statement where everybody is just like, oh my god, check out that city. That's definitely the coolest city. I want to win the Brick Fair Virginia Best City. And if I don't, we might just blow this thing up too. Not really, because this is a lot of pieces. But thanks for watching. If you haven't yet, don't forget, always like and subscribe to videos. Come back and see us next week to see what we've done with our next update. Thank you for watching, and talk to y'all later.